What is happening, and welcome to another four-wheel drive talk episode. And friends, again, we're out of the studio. It could only mean one thing: field trip in place. Now friends, as I've said many times before, I am a car guy, absolutely love cars. And back in the day, one of my favorite shows I used to attend was Cars and Coffee. Cars and Coffee was fantastic because why? Well, you get to go walking around and seeing what other people have done to their rigs, or not their rigs, but cars at that point. And it's fun to see how the journey that they took their vehicle in the whole process. Now, of course, there's no cars here, but there are trucks. And friends, we were playing around with Trucks and Coffee, and I know somebody else has Trucks and Coffee online, but we're going to go with it. But technically, the coffee went a long time ago. Friends, I'm here today with Matt Hadaad. Matt, how are you doing today?
Pretty good. And yourself?
Fantastic. So what we're going to be doing here is, guys, as you can see, there is a red Jeep kind of flexed up on a big-ass rock behind me here. And this is Matt's rig, so we're going to take a deep dive into this. But first, Matt, before we get into your Jeep here, can you share with the audience a little bit about who you are?
Yeah, of course. I'm a middle school teacher in Southern California. I'm married, got 2 dogs. Just want to get out, explore, and set a good example for everyone.
Well done. Now, can you tell with us, or share with us a little bit about this Jeep behind us?
So this is a 2016 JKU. It was originally a Sport, or Sport S, because it has the power windows. Not much of a big difference, but other than that, that's what it started as. It was a rental car in Hawaii, and now it's this.
So interesting. This was a rental car in Hawaii?
Yes, sir.
Wow. So let's do something a little fun here. Let's you and I jump in the Wayback Machine. Let's go back to the very day, the very morning that you decided to pick up this Jeep. What was the original inspiration for doing so?
So I learned to drive in the original Unlimited Jeep. I think it was like an 04, 06. And I learned how to drive in that thing, and it kind of just felt like home. And I had a Tacoma at the time, and well, you know, things happen, accidents happen, and the Tacoma ended up getting a pretty bad wreck, and it wasn't trusted anymore. So the morning of, me and my now wife got in the car, and we decided, hey, let's go look. And showed up on the lot at CarMax and found this thing for a good price, and it just felt like home again.
Now it's funny when you talk to enough people, everybody has a particular journey or direction. Their compass is pointed. Where was your compass pointed when you started adding? Clearly, this thing is not stock. Yep. When you started building this thing out, did you see this as more of a rock crawler, more an overlanding vehicle, or kind of a hybrid of both?
Yeah. So the original, like I said, I had a Tacoma before. I built that thing as an Overlander. So the original inspiration was I want to be able to do something I wasn't able to do in my Tacoma. So the original inspiration was primarily rock crawler, but over time it's slowly starting to adapt and change with kind of how I use it. But its original purpose and function was rock crawling. Okay.
Now, what probably all of you want to hear, talk us through some of the mods that you've done on this, because again, I walk around this thing and there's clearly a lot that you've done to this. So walk us through some of those.
So the whole purpose of this thing is be able to get back. So you can get out on any trail and any rig, but the biggest problem is not being able to always get back. So basically, I wanted something sturdy, I wanted it strong, I want to be able to get home and be safe. You know, keep my wife safe, whoever I'm with, be able to help them. So definitely we'll start from bottom up. The axles, so I went Ultimate Dana 60s. Those things, I mean, you gotta be trying to break them. You can, because it's not an if, it's a when, but these things, it's hard to break. So that's kind of the first part. With the 60s, I wanted to go a little bit bigger tires so I could do more and push myself more as a driver and just off-roading. So I went a little bit bigger tires. Then this is
these tires are, I'm sorry, what size are these?
These are the BFG KM 339s.
39s, okay.
Yep. So I want to go bigger tire. I always had the mindset of 40s are kind of where I want to go, because, you know, rock crawling and the rocks keep getting bigger as you off-road more and more. But so the 60s allowed me to do the tires, and then with the tires and the 60s, I wanted a suspension that could keep up. So I ended up, I had, you know, a few different suspensions, as we all do. You know, you get a basic suspension, then you realize you want to go a little faster, and then you get a little nicer adjustable. So now I ended up with Carbon Shock Technologies. They're 2.5 inch coilover kit.
Wow.
And that's mounted with Rebel Off-Road's Recon kit.
Okay, so basically a lot of stuff has been done to this here. Now, if there was a single mod out of everything that you've put onto this Jeep that has impacted the way that you use this Jeep the most, what mod would that be?
So most people would probably just look at the Jeep and say, oh, it's obviously the coilovers, it's the big tires, but realistically, when you really get down to the nitty gritty, it's the interior things. And I did one thing interior wise. It's a company called Cargo Dog, really good people out of Michigan. It's basically a lockable, sealed storage compartment. The middle compartment, there's 3 parts. It's a 60-40 split. The middle compartment has powered inside. It's all made of steel. It's lockable, which is probably the biggest thing that really factors in. It's powered, it's illuminated, all of that stuff. It's 60-40, so I could also put in my jump seat behind the driver's seat. It really allows me a lot of versatility, a lot of security, because, you know, if you have a Jeep, you know there's not a lot of storage.
No.
And this allows me to have storage. It locks, it's powered, I can charge things. I have ports, so charging ports. I have a 12 volt, I have USBs. It just gives me a lot of versatility. And then with that jump seat, if I ever have, you know, passengers with me, I could take that, it's 40% out, put the seat back in, and then realistically it takes me about 15 minutes to take the entire system out and put both of my seats back in. So it's a really quick and easy change.
So put it, and then if you were to reverse that, to put this back in, how long does that take?
So I do something crazy with my seat belts and I actually hide them away. It takes me probably 15-ish minutes, 20 minutes if I struggle.
Wow.
It's quick.
That is blazing fast.
Oh yeah.
If you were to do start from ground zero again, do all the mods all over again, is there a mod on here that you wouldn't put back on the truck?
That is a very loaded question. Honestly, if I could go back and just completely start scrap, the one thing that I wouldn't put back on is my corner armor. I wouldn't put the corner armor back on because when I first got my Jeep, I always saw these people on Instagram and Facebook and YouTube and just out on the trails, and they're always pushing these products and kind of seeing the things that everyone wants to see. And when I first went into it, I had the mentality of, this is what I need on my Jeep in order for it to be what I want it to be. But now with the knowledge that I have, there's options. Where when I first went into it, I went with the brand mentality instead of the functionality. So definitely the corner armor, that would be the first thing that I swap out, just as far as it's not what I wanted, it's what I thought that I needed.
Now, is that bolted on, or how's it actually fastened to the truck itself?
Yeah. So the corner armor, you put it up, you mark your holes, you drill in, then you rib nut.
Got it, okay.
Rib nut it all the way through, and the tail light you have to cut around it, so you have to actually cut into the corner panel, and it's pretty invasive.
Very cool. What plans do you have for this moving forward?
Moving forward, the suspension, I'm very happy with the suspension. Moving forward, I want to make it more usable. Because I know, especially with the JKs, they're kind of rugged. They're kind of meant to be beat on a little bit more just because there's not a lot of super creature comforts. So my goal is to put a little bit more creature comfort and make it what, you know, one day could be seen as like a ultimate family vehicle where I can get out and just be comfortable. We're
going to shift gears now. We're going to do what's called a speed round. So, Matt, speed round, we're going to ask you 5 questions here. You're going to give me 5 quick answers.
Yep.
Ready?
Let's do it.
Okay, how often do you take this out?
On trails, at least twice a month.
What is the strangest thing that you see on the trails?
The strangest thing I've seen so far is a flipped abandoned Tacoma, but I don't know quite how it flipped and how it got to the picture.
If there's any mod that could magically appear right now today on this, no cost to you, what would that be?
Ursa Minor hardtop camper.
That is a good answer. Is there such thing as a perfect tire size?
The short answer, no.
Do you have any off-road pet peeves?
Off-road pet peeves, so trail etiquette wise, if you know when you're passing someone, usually you want to tell them how many more you have in your group, and you know if everyone that drives a Jeep, most people will know, or the stigma is 2. You know, that's a wave, and when people just wave back instead of telling you. some useful information.
Now, I have a question here. So, friends, if you haven't noticed, probably on the setting here, there's actually been technically 2 interviews that have been done here today. We have Matt, and then we have his father, Art, with the Gladiator, and depending upon which video go live, so you may see this one first, you may see the Gladiator go first. And one thing I've noticed on these things, and as we're talking here, I'm noticing this Elevate, and I notice both of your vehicles have Elevate on the hood. What is that?
So Elevate Off-Road is my company. It's a lifestyle brand. Basically, it doesn't matter what walk of life you are, it doesn't matter who you are, where you come from, what profession you have, what you drive. You could have a Prius that's lifted on whatever it is. It's all about getting out, exploring, and seeing things that you can't see on the daily road. Getting out, being safe, making memories that you wouldn't make otherwise.
Super cool. Okay, I'm looking at your hat, and it just dawned on me that both of the trucks had that on there, and so had to ask. Now, final question. So many of the viewers that may be watching this video are either thinking about it, or they might have just gotten involved in rock crawling, overlanding, and not quite sure where to start. What advice can you give to them?
Honestly, the best start is know your why. You asked a really good question of what's your purpose. Is it a rock crawler, overlander, is it in between? If you don't know where you're going to start, you'll never know where you're going to end. And sometimes you'll think one thing, but then when you see something else, you change, and that's what you actually want. If you know your why and what you want to get to, you'll have an easy sailing instead of having to replace things and change stuff over time like I ended up doing.
Such a great and quite a meaningful, with a lot of depth, answer. Great job. Matt, thank you very much for taking time out of your schedule here today and joining us. And friends, that is going to be it for this episode here. Now it's that time of the video where, friends, I'm going to ask you to do all that YouTube stuff because we really appreciate it. So please consider hitting that like button, the subscribe button, might as well hit all notifications so every single time that we come out with a video, just like the one that you just watched, well, the YouTube's going to let you know about that. But that is it. So I'm going to turn off these cameras so you get out there, stay healthy, and find your adventure.